So you're here because you want to speak English a bit more fluently, maybe feel more confident doing it.
Absolutely. I think that's a goal for a lot of people.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're looking at a pretty popular YouTube video. That's the one where he shares his 5 simple steps for improving spoken English.
Yeah, and what's interesting right from the start is how he kind of prefaces it.
How so?
Well, he's very open about English vocabulary not being his absolute strongest point.
Right. Which is kind of refreshing, actually.
It is,
Yeah.
because despite that, you watch him and he speaks really confidently, very effectively.
Totally. It makes you think, okay, maybe fluency isn't just about memorizing like a dictionary.
Exactly. There's more to it. Confidence, structure, maybe.
Precisely. So our mission today, if you like, is to advice.
Dig into it.
Yeah, pull out the most practical stuff, the actionable insights that could actually help someone.
Especially since he talks about his own initial struggles with languages.
Yeah,
Makes it relatable.
it does. Okay, so let's jump into step 1. He calls it the fun part.
Right. Making language learning enjoyable from the very beginning.
He suggests setting aside time every day, doesn't he?
Yeah, minimum 15 minutes. But ideally, he says, try for an hour.
Okay, 15 to 60 minutes daily. And what does he suggest doing in that time?
He gives 3 main options to make it fun and accessible.
Go on.
First up, easy video content. And he specifically mentions talking cartoons.
Like kids' cartoons.
Yeah, and he knows people might think, oh, I'm too old for cartoons.
Right. A bit childish, maybe.
But he makes the point that the language is deliberately simple. Basic sentences, clear pronunciation. It's a good entry point.
Okay, so it's about accessibility. Getting those fundamentals without feeling like overwhelmed.
Exactly. Building that base. But if videos aren't your thing,
There's an alternative.
yeah. His second suggestion is audio content. Think radio, podcasts, things you actually find interesting.
So same principle, make it enjoyable. Find something you like listening to.
Precisely. And the third option,
Reading simple English.
right. And he even gets specific there, suggesting ICSE 10th grade textbooks.
Why those specifically?
He mentions they often have short stories, easy to digest, good sentence examples.
Interesting. So videos, audio, or reading.
The core message for step 1 is really find what you enjoy. Don't force it.
And then stick with it. Make it a daily habit.
Yeah, that consistency, even just 15 minutes, starts building things up.
Okay, so establish the fun habit. Then what? Step 2.
Step 2 is a shift in focus. He says, observe the English language from the outside.
Okay. What does that mean exactly? Less active learning.
Sort of. It's less about actively memorizing vocabulary lists at this stage.
And more about.
More about passively noticing how people construct sentences in English.
Ah, okay. Like word order, sentence patterns, that kind of thing.
He points out that it might be quite different from how you think or structure sentences in your native language.
That makes sense. Your brain might default to your first language's grammar.
Right. So the action here is just to notice. When you're watching, listening, reading that fun
It's a
content.
mental note.
Yeah. Oh, they put that word there, or that's an interesting way to phrase that.
Just observe the patterns.
Mm-hmm. He stresses that vocabulary building can come, a bit later.
First, get a feel for the structure, like learning the rhythm before the lyrics.
That's a great analogy. Build that foundational sense of how English works.
Okay, got it. Step 1, fun content habit. Step 2, observe structure. What's step 3?
Step 3 is maybe the big one psychologically. Put your ego aside.
Yes, the fear of making mistakes.
Definitely. And he ties it into the Indian context specifically, where sometimes English proficiency gets linked unfairly with intelligence.
Yeah, that can be a real barrier. People are afraid of sounding stupid.
And Ranveer has this interesting observation. He suggests sometimes people who are quick to judge others' English
Yeah.
might actually be doing it to cover up their own insecurities about it.
That's quite insightful. A defense mechanism.
Could be. But his main point, his core advice here is just embrace the mistakes.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Of course. But he argues that making mistakes, even getting corrected, that's actually how you learn best.
Because it sticks in your mind more.
Exactly. You remember the correction. It helps solidify the right way.
So don't worry so much about what other people think. Focus on your own journey.
That's the essence of it. Mistakes are feedback, not failure. It's about growth.
Okay, that's a powerful one. Let go of the ego. What's step 4? This one surprised me a little.
Step 4 shifts inward. It's about chasing clarity of thought,
clarity of thought. How does that connect to speaking English?
Well, he identifies common roadblocks, right? Worrying what people think.
Like we just discussed.
Yeah, or that mental translation lag, trying to convert from your native language in real time.
Or just
yeah,
your mind going blank, struggling for the words.
exactly. All that mental noise. And his solution.
Meditation, which I admit I didn't see coming in an English learning context.
It seems a bit left field, maybe, but his reasoning makes sense when you hear it.
Explain it. How does meditation help fluency?
He argues it helps clear out that mental clutter.
Yeah.
Quiets the noise.
Okay.
It grounds your thinking process, so if your thoughts are clearer, more organized.
Your speaking becomes clearer and more fluent.
That's the connection he makes. You're less likely to get tripped up by your own internal distractions or that translation process.
So it's about improving the underlying thought process that fuels speech.
Precisely. He even mentions he has a meditation playlist on his Beer Biceps channel for people interested.
Interesting. So it connects a mental practice to a very practical communication skill.
Yeah, it highlights that language isn't just rules and words, it's cognitive too. Mental state matters.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So that's step 4, clarity of thought via meditation. What's the 5th and final step?
The last one brings in a wider sort of cultural perspective. Step 5 is stop giving English so much importance.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
He directly challenges that societal tendency, especially strong in India, he feels, to equate English skills with overall intelligence.
That link we mentioned earlier.
Yeah. He suggests it's partly a hangover from British rule, that colonial legacy.
And that this isn't necessarily the norm elsewhere.
Right. He says in many other countries, people are just, proud to speak their own languages. It doesn't carry the same weight.
So he's advocating for pride in one's own language and culture.
Absolutely. He specifically mentions Marathi, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Sanskrit, urging Indians to value their own heritage.
And practically speaking, how does this translate to learning English?
His advice is actually quite liberating. He says, look, if you get stuck speaking English, just switch to Hindi or your native language to finish the thought.
Really? Just code switch?
Yeah, normalize it. He feels it takes the pressure off needing perfect English all the time.
That would definitely reduce anxiety for a lot of learners.
For sure. He also notes that maybe this pressure for perfection is stronger in, older generations.
Interesting point.
But his bottom line is, not being perfectly fluent in English, it's okay. It's not that big a deal.
Be proud of who you are and where you come from.
Exactly. That's the core message of step 5.
Okay, wow. So let's quickly recap those 5 steps from Renvir.
Sure. First, make it fun. Daily enjoyable content videos, audio, reading.
Right. Second.
Observe sentence construction. Passively notice how English is put together.
Third, the big one. Put your ego aside. Embrace mistakes as learning opportunities.
Fourth, chase clarity of thought, potentially using meditation to clear the mind.
And 5th, stop giving English so much importance. Value your own language and don't sweat the imperfections. Use code switching if needed.
That's the rundown?
It feels like a much more holistic approach than just grammar drills, doesn't it?
Definitely. It's about the mindset, the consistency, the enjoyment. Confidence seems key.
Yeah, building confidence and understanding, maybe even more than just a massive vocabulary count.
Which leads to a good question for everyone listening, maybe.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Just to think about your own relationship with English. Where does any pressure come from?
And maybe which of these steps feels most relevant right now?
Exactly. Which one could you actually start doing, maybe even today, to shift things a little? Food for thought.